Hey, what's up everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right. So I did my little grocery shopping thing for the day. First time probably in like over a week since I went to Hollywood. I didn't have any issues at all. My stomach was a little sore on the left side, I think, when I was climbing up the last hill. But other than that, my body felt pretty normal. I was kind of surprised how well it reacted to the hill climb and all that. But I think part of what it was is also me being distracted by what I was doing in my phone. So, you know, it's not important. But yeah, man, it feels good to be out. Today's one of those days where I really appreciate having a platform established to talk about whatever I want to. It's not that I have the most important things to talk about. It's just one of those days where you're really happy you can use it to talk. That's what I created it for. And I want to thank my old self for creating this for today. Because today's videos, or the video I made on the way here, though not very important to the grand scheme of things of the world, it was pretty damn refreshing to just speak about for myself and my circumstances. And so there are things that are so much more important to talk about. And I don't think I want to get into myself right now. But just know that I definitely do not regret starting this channel for days like this, where an outlet was really, really appreciated. So, yeah, man, let's see. What else? What do I want to talk about? I think, I don't know, man. I've been paying attention to a lot of stuff. I think, obviously, we can always go to the situation in Palestine. I think that's one of the most important conversations in modern times. So it's never a conversation that can't be had about how awful that is. How many lies are being told, and just the corruption that's now obvious to everybody who's paying attention to it. That is whopped up in everything else that ultimately goes on in this world. That situation is like a hub to show you who controls the world and what they like to do. You know what I mean? That's what this has done, showing us that. And I've more or less been very, very critical of them over the course of 2 years. Israel and their intentions, and and covering all of the different things that I have on this channel. I'm very proud of that aspect of this channel. It's giving me an opportunity to voice my opinions on many different tones, in many different tones, in regards to this very sensitive and important social conversation. They're still breaking the ceasefire agreement that they agreed to, 7 days ago? It's since been broken. They've been, from what I understand, yesterday around 2 o'clock, it was reported that there had been over 80 violations of the ceasefire on Israel's part. Even though you're seeing a lot of propaganda telling you that it's Hamas, it is not. It's not Hamas. Hamas has not broken any ceasefire agreement at all. That's been all them. And America is essentially, it was a situation where yesterday morning a bulldozer exploded. I didn't follow that story as closely as I should have, but it came across my desk, so to speak. But a bulldozer exploded. I guess a settler-owned construction company was doing some construction in an illegal settlement when the thing, I guess, rolled over an explosive that had been dropped throughout the course of this process and forgotten about, or just never known it was there, and it rolled over it, and when it did, it exploded it. I don't think there were any casualties from what I understand. There may not have been any casualties, but it was some very serious injuries. And from what I understand, Israel immediately attacked Hamas, or who they said was, they did a bunch of bombing in response to that situation. When it was also understood that America had intel about what took place in that situation involving that tractor blowing up. America was aware of the specifics and the details of that situation. So when it was said that Israel struck in retaliation for that situation, it was said that America pushed back on Israel in doing so, telling them, hey, whatever you think you're doing, we know that this is not a prompted response to anything real. We know and are telling you that this is essentially an accident. Friendly fire and that the enemy Hamas had zero to do with the explosion there. So whatever y'all doing, you're out of pocket. That's essentially what came across my desk, and America was essentially telling them, hey, stop this, strike in retaliation for that explosion. That explosion was an accident. Friendly fire, didn't even involve anybody from Hamas. Meanwhile, and of course, in the areas that Israel struck, attempting to kill Hamas soldiers, they were only able to effectively manage to slaughter innocent children. Because of course, I mean, that's always the collateral damage that's so very acceptable to the rest of us, right? I mean, in order to kill a bunch of bad guys, it's perfectly fine to blow up an elementary school. If you tell me, according to Israel, based on what they're doing, if you tell me a team of terrorists run into a children's hospital, that you effectively must level the hospital to kill the people who ran in there who were terrorists. I know killed children are going to die. I understand that. But morally, you have a responsibility to kill the terrorists. It's just, I mean, that's what they're selling. That's what they're selling. Are you buying? You know, Ben Giver, I don't know his name. The Iranian dude, a real, just slaughter porn type energy type guy. He is really, you talk about certain people in this situation who are wired for the carnage and who want to see people die. Ben Giver is someone who wants to see people die. And granted, within their way of doing things, everybody wants people to die. But there are certain people in this that are wired a certain way, and then there are other people who are just inspired by the propaganda on their heads. They wouldn't otherwise, in a different walk of life, be doing this. But since they're a part of this religious cult, then they just seem to think it's a means that is justifiable based on what they've been taught all their lives. Then you have psychopaths who are also in the mix, who are actually wired to do horrible stuff. That's Ben Giver. Ben Giver, and his last name is Ben Giver. His first name is some other stuff I do not have in my head right now. But he's originally from Iran. Just like everyone in Israel, they come from somewhere else. And so he's originally from Iran. He's brown skinned. He looked like half of the grown men underneath the rubble, literally. Which is why I've been trying to explain to people that this is not a race issue necessarily, though much of what it is I've talked about has spoke to it being about white supremacy and being anti-Islam, anti-brown, this, and that is the majority of what's going on there. But as I've also said to you guys many times, some of the people who've lost their lives have been of white, fair skin, blonde hair, blue eyes, Palestinian people getting killed by brothers that look like me, who are fighting for the IDF. Like, there's no perfect science to this in regards to who you're dealing with and what you're identifying there. So in this situation, one of the most prominent faces in Israeli intelligence is somebody who looks like a Palestinian, Ben Giver. And that's the part that I laugh at the irony of this jerk, because he looks I can guarantee you that a good portion of the people he's supporting killing, he's related to. These are his distant cousins. He's not European. He's not from somewhere else coming to Israel to make everything right. This is a maniac from that region. That's who that is. He's a maniac. And I don't take that word lightly when using it about this man. Anyway, so this Ben Giver guy, he got on television. I don't know when he did this, but it was posted yesterday. And he was essentially saying that now that they've gotten all their hostages back, everybody wants them to stop killing. Everybody wants them to stop firing, and everybody wants them to stop fighting. But it's important that they continue to fight, to crush and bring hell to the enemy, to assure that he is deterred from ever doing this again. So essentially what this Ben Giver dude is saying is, yes, we got our hostages back and we agreed to a ceasefire, but what we actually want to do, now that we have our hostages back, is finish the job. And then they, on that same breath, those same people will tell us that it's Hamas who's breaking the ceasefire agreement. But as I've illustrated to you guys a million times, anytime anybody tries to defend Israel makes them look crazy. And this is yet another application of that. So you got all these people, they pay thousands of dollars to get up here and tell us that Hamas is the reason why the food aid isn't getting through. The trucks are sitting there outside of the gates waiting to come in, but Hamas is holding them, starving their own people, while simultaneously sending themselves out there to get slaughtered in defense of their own people. How is that supposed to come together to make any sense? I don't know. I'm just supposed to be too damn stupid to even put them 2 points together and try to make any sense of that. So this is what they think of us. I tell you, they're lies. They don't come together. Whatever the case may be, Hamas apparently is both using their children and grandchildren or whatever, their nieces and nephews, as human shields to accomplish zero anything, because they're only fighting on the outskirts of Israel. They ain't even once cross over the borders into Israel where the ops truly at. They tearing up all their own stuff, killing people who are aggressively, effectively targeting them, and apparently that's supposed to be out of pocket or something. If people are trying to kill me and tell everyone about me the worst of things, but apparently me being in defense to that makes me the worst person in the world and a terrorist. And that all of my children around me ultimately are, by default to that reality, deemed to be okay to kill so that they can effectively annihilate me, who is simultaneously in defense of people and also using them as human shields, apparently. Right, this is the problem with, and I've been trying to make this point on this channel for the past couple of weeks now, although I've made it many times. It's been an emphasis over the last couple of weeks. These people really don't respect anybody at all. So what they're likely going to do 9 out of 10 times is give you some half-ass attempt at a narrative or a lie and then leave you with it confused because it's not going to make any sense and it's not going to come together. And then they're going to look at you crazy and look at you like you stepped on their shoe if you don't buy it. It's just like, yo, man, is the world not done doing this song and dance with them, man? Honestly, are we not done doing this song and dance with them? And they rigged our entire government. They out here killing children in our faces. They out here dancing along, buying up all of the media outlets from which we get our entertainment and our news from, using all of that media outlets to warp our sense of morality into oblivion. They targeted specific sectors in this country to discriminate against and slow burn with propaganda and force-fed music that's meant to deter the salvation of a people. These people have been doing all types of evil stuff, rigging governments, buying up all the porn companies, all the fast food joints, all of the banks, anything that your ass gonna want, they done bought up. Real estate with their whale companies that have held on to money since the slavery days, for which they were the heaviest investor in, mind you. And all of the money that they've plundered from all of the situations that they ultimately stirred up and instigated throughout the course of all of the damn continents in this world, not namely Antarctica. They use the money that they've done all these horrible things with over the last however long it's been to continue to control our governments, control our outlets, our pastimes, our vices, our sins. They want to benefit from all of that shit. And then stand up and act like they're the chosen ones, like they have the moral high ground on everybody else. So like they're just so touched by God with the golden touch and we're so jealous of them and that's why we have a gripe with them. It's just so ridiculous, you guys, at this point. And the ridiculousness of it somehow, in its own strange way, puts a mask over the seriousness of what it is they're doing. When you look at the ridiculousness in how they act, you almost forget you're talking about someone who spends a good portion of its intentions, dollars, resources, influence to kill children, poor children, who don't have much, who've never had anything because they've had these people on their necks for 75 damn years. 75 years of occupation ending in a genocide. That is the seriousness of what it is that these people have engaged in, while they're doing everything they can to bring light to the conversation around the seriousness of them by acting a damned fool while doing the worst things we've ever seen. This would be highly more palatable, and I think this is not by accident. This would be highly more palatable, and I've said this many times, if this were an imperial, villainous, serious entity. Like we've seen in Star Wars, like we've seen in our various characters. Villains who were serious, who did awful things and had a certain presentation about themselves that, yo, I'm doing this, I'm standing on it, and you had better stop me or I'm gonna keep doing it. These guys are stumbling over lies that don't even come together at all. They're telling you, as I've illustrated to you guys a million times, they're telling you a bunch of stuff that just do a simple Google search, you can see it's all a bunch of hogwash, man. They're lying to people. And I think it's by design that these lies are easily debunked, to do a mind screw of sorts with you, to where you're sitting up there thinking about how ridiculous all this is and how confusing it is, instead of saying, yo, these are baby killing monsters controlling governments and vices all over the world to make themselves wealthy, even though they've been doing this for over 1,000 years. I'm telling you guys, man, I don't think any of this is by accident. I don't think they're acting confusingly strange for any other reason than to just put forth more confusion and less intensity about the seriousness of their intentions. Seriousness to annihilate an entire race of people who make up a majority, 50% rather, about 50% of them are children, which is a rarity in this world. But this is just so happens to be who they want to kill. No, we shouldn't be sitting up here saying, oh, it's so funny that they're liars. Oh, it's so funny how they just stumble over themselves with corny propaganda that's easily debunked, or corny lies and narratives that are easily debunked. No, this is not entertainment. In America, specifically, given the fact that we are hijacked by this entity, we need to take them a lot more seriously than the environment would coach us into doing. Essentially what I'm saying to you. We need to take them a lot more seriously. And the way your president's acting behind them, or in front of them rather, as they stand behind him with their hand in his backside, should tell you everything you need to know about how serious they are. Because every time he opens his mouth in regards to them, he looks like he's concerned about what happens if he doesn't say the right thing. He looks like every time he puts his foot down with everybody, he ain't putting it down as strong with them. Or anytime he stands on something in regards to saying he has control over them, they immediately, right then and there, show all of us that what comes out of his mouth is not what he says it is. He is not powerful. He ain't got no sway over them. They control him, not the other way around. And that's what I want people to understand. I don't have any belief, zero belief in our system as currently constructed. I think it has long been sold to these people. Long been sold to these people. I think that the evidence of what it is that they've been engaging in shows up in so many different key, monumental circumstances that took place in our country. This big thing happened, that big thing happened. You're going to see them there. When you look up and look at all the tactics they've been engaging in regards to this genocide, you're going to find a good portion of those behaviors in those them historical, tragic circumstances. Or you may see a character that's popping up today in a situation that was also somewhere else where another one of those monumental American things took place. That idiot that they found, the child pornography jerk with the pants around his ankles when what's his name got shot? When Charlie Kirk was shot, that dude that they initially said was a decoy distraction, he's a Jew. That person was also interviewed outside of the 9/11 building. If I'm not mistaken, he called in a false bomb threat at Atlanta's 1996 Olympics, if I'm not mistaken. It was either that or the Boston bombing. at the marathon, that marathon bombing that took place not too long after that. He was at one of them or both of those. Like, is it hard to tell that this person is obviously connected to someone above us, and his ethnicity gives away who it is, right? Let's just be honest. That he keeps showing up at every one of these monumental things. What are the odds of that? He probably has a better chance of winning the lottery than just so happen to find himself in all them situations at those times. What type of intel was he fed to assure he was there? Who told him to be in these places? And if our government doesn't know the answer to those questions, then why aren't they somewhere getting those questions out of him, getting those answers out of him? Assuming they're not. Why isn't he somewhere getting everything done to assure that he's forthcoming with information within his constitutional rights or whatever, however that goes? I'm not simply saying that you take every measure to get information out of somebody. I'm just saying if ever there was somebody you press the envelope with in regards to that, it's the guy who found himself at all of these different monumental American tragedies. One man in all of these places, and he happens to be Jewish. Ashkenazi Jew at that. Not just any Jew, but Israeli Jew. Get out of here, man. You want me to believe this fool just so happened to stumble upon the Boston situation, 9/11, and the Charlie Kirk murder? You know these 3 different states? The 3 very specific dates for which we had no warning? How the hell does he find himself in all those places at the same time? Or rather, at the right time? Get out of here, man. Clearly, that's some Israel bullshit. Clearly, he's Mossad. And clearly, he's a connection to the idea that Mossad, if not did all of these things, was definitely aware of a lot in regards to these things. If they didn't do 9/11, they sure know who did. If they didn't do the Boston bombing, they sure know who did. If they didn't kill Charlie Kirk, they sure know who did. And that, my friend, should tell us that some of the questions that maybe I have as somebody who's paying attention to this may not be questions that our government has. They may know who this person is. It's a good reason to believe they either know or effectively in a position to where that information is effectively not coming their way and they're fine with it or have to be fine with it or whatever. It's above their pay grade. Essentially what I'm saying. Either they know what's up with that man or they know not to ask. And that he was found with child pornography in his phone speaks to something that I believe has been very obvious now for a little over the year. That Israel, specifically, Israel and the Mossad, do have weapons that they use at their disposal in many different areas of disgusting. That's the best way I know how to describe it. The best way I know how to describe it, to be as broad as possible. They have people everywhere. And they will use all of those people to get things done. And it also speaks to, in a specific way, the depravity of these people as it pertains to the fact that they have so many monsters in so many prominent roles, that they do use sex as a tool, forced, uncomfortable, unwelcomed energy in that regard, as a tool that they use at their discretion, that they will do it to you if they think it can get what they want done. And that's a horrible thing for me to have to utter, but that is really the truth. That is what we've learned about them, that they will use sex, forced, our word, as a cruel and unusual tactic to get whatever the hell they want done. Or just for shits and giggles, they will do that to their enemies. So like, these are the people that you have to understand control not only your country and your government structure, but a lot of your financial systems. Every one of these McDonald's that I keep seeing all over the damn place, Starbucks, owned by these same assholes, OnlyFans, Oracle, goddamn Dallas Mavericks, all these different teams, bro. different things that they own. They got a representative at every music exec, every Hollywood exec. If they don't have somebody represented in that, they have their lawyers. If they don't have their lawyers, they have their accountants. If they don't have their accountants, they have the bankers. They own them all. So you're damn right your media is going to sit up here and play in your face and try to justify all this nonsense with a narrative that has too many holes in it to even pay attention to, even count. Thing has more holes than pores in skin. But they'll sit up here and sell it to you like it's just a matter of fact, and that it's of course you will believe it. Like this, and that's what I've come to understand. Because of this dynamic, you have people who find it wise to do whatever Israel says. Whatever they say. No matter how humiliating it may make them look, no matter how humbling it may make them be, they're going to do it. They're going to do it because they have to. Hey, buddy, what's happening? They have to. You know why they have to? Because in their minds, if they don't, then the worst of consequences come from that. So they would rather look like complete cucks, so to speak. like they just kiss the boot of anybody in front of them, because if they don't kiss that boot, they fear even worse consequences that come from that. And that's the presence of a godlessness that we've talked about several times. It's not something that I engage in, but it is the danger. And I say this with a great deal of respect for my non-believer followers. That's the danger of being a non-believer. That's the danger of it. If I'm being completely honest with you, amongst many things, the danger is you're in the crosshairs of an entity that doesn't hold any concern for whether or not God exists. He's trying to kill God, so to speak. He's waging war against him. He's trying to cower God into a corner where he never wields his power again. Like, that's what their intention. I know that sounds strange, but that's exactly what their intention is. That's what the devil's intention is. These are the devil's people. So when you are somebody who doesn't believe, you got to understand that you're in a world being controlled by people who've waged war against the God you don't believe in. Now that may seem to you like it should be completely harmless and a bunch of people running around in chaos, but what's lacking is the context that God has already been proven. His enemies know he exists, and they're fighting him. And so, as you being somebody who doesn't believe he exists, and then moving as if he doesn't exist, you are in the crosshairs of people who know he exists, and they are controlling you with the intentions of not doing what it is that makes you better, not helping you receive all that you're supposed to get out of your life, but ultimately in hopes of demoralizing that for which holds all the power above us. They want to demoralize God while you're sitting up here not believing in him. The powers that be are trying to kill him. And so that's what I want people to really understand. It's not harmless. It's not harmless in a religious extremist world to be completely spiritually oblivious. It's not harmless. That it hurts you to be one of them people that walk around like everything is about money and about what you touch and feel. Now, the people who are controlling everything you touch are trying to kill God, y'all. They're trying to destroy him. They're trying to demoralize him, whatever be possible. That's what they want to do. They're hell-bent on doing it. They believe they can. That's what I want people to understand. Now, can they do that? Of course not. God wouldn't be God if such a thing was possible. But they wouldn't be stupid enough to go against him so vehemently if they weren't depraved of something that would help them see clearly in the first damn place. Anybody in their right mind know their arms too short to box with God. These fools are still swinging. So obviously they're lacking in something. And all the power they hold, they have all the confidence because they've rigged the world itself. So it's not like they shouldn't feel confident they can take something else from God. They've already hijacked his damn globe. So I can see where their confidence comes from. But I think the context they're missing is that he didn't lose anything. He's letting you run around with it for his own purposes. When he wants to take it from you, it's out of your hands. That's it. The inevitability of God's will is not something that God has to be insecure about. You have to fight for that. That's what his enemy doesn't understand. For whatever set of reasons, Israel and everybody else who's fighting on the devil's side doesn't seem to get that God is letting all of this happen for his own reasons. And when he's done seeing it happen, it stops happening. You understand what I'm saying? There's nothing for you to win. This is not a game. This is a very much a dictatorship. And the guy who has all the power and all the security within his power finds it most wise and beneficial to him to give all of us free will. So in your limited understanding and your quest to defeat this entity, you don't harbor the wisdom that he has for why he gives free will to the people he controls the most. You're trying to control us. He already does, and the first thing he does is give us free will. His wisdom tells him that it's best that those he controls have free will. And his infinite understanding, the conclusion he has, is that it's better we choose than he just move everything as he sees fit without us having any choice. That truth I hold very close to me because it keeps me from wanting to control others. It keeps me from following the world and being manipulative toward others. I don't need to be. In my journey to please God, I understand he gave everybody free will, and it's in my best interest, if I want to please God, to mimic him. Not his will as it pertains to trying to be God, but his grace in regards to what I can control, which is myself in not controlling others. Self-control. The wisdom to leave some for others so that people won't hate you, so that people won't try to tear you down to feed themselves. There's wisdom in that. And a lot of us are trying so hard to be God that we don't realize the wisdom of God is not something we can obtain even if we get his power. The wisdom, why he does what he does, is the most important thing. It's not the power of God that is this most powerful tool. It's his infinite wisdom, knowledge, understanding, and truth that allows for him to stay in a space of security that is far beyond our abilities. You can gain all of what God has and still find yourself being small because you don't have that. So I tell Israel and anybody else that wants to be God or play God or kill God that no matter what you do, you can't find his why. No matter what you take, you can't find his why. You don't know why he's doing what he's doing. And his why is the key to his infinite, if that's a word. It's the key. What he understands that none of us could ever learn is why he's greater than ever, all of us forevermore. It's not just because he built this thing. It's because he knows what's going to happen next. He controls that. So playing God or killing God is not going to make any of that easier for you. I just want to make that very clear to everybody, literally all humans. Killing God is not going to make your existence in this spiritual plane an easy one. I think that's what's lost amongst all these devilish people and devil worshippers and all these people that are doing Antichrist type stuff. They think the world's going to be better when there's no God. First of all, you can't get rid of him anyway. But if he were to go away, your life doesn't get better. It gets a lot worse. The fires that he puts out are the ones that are most gracious to the people. It's not what he gives us. It's that what he doesn't bring our way that ultimately is our greatest gift from him. That what he doesn't compound us with, or what he makes us strong enough to handle, is our greatest gift from him. It's not even our free will. It's that he doesn't throw everything at us all the time forevermore. Even if you have the worst life ever, you ain't gonna be here forever. He got the mercy to take you up out of your hell if you find hell on earth. You ain't gotta be here that long. Don't y'all see the grace in that? People trying to kill God, they don't even know why he does what he does. They don't even know why they should just like literally not. Whatever they're doing against it, just literally don't, fam. If you understood why, there would be no question. But because you don't understand why, you engage in mistakenness. And that mistakenness is a flaw that he doesn't have. You know, I just want people to understand, I don't fear Israel, just like I wouldn't have feared slave masters, just like I would not have feared any other conqueror that came before him. Because at the end of the day, it was always God's world. Life was always limited and was finite to begin with. No matter how much I accomplish or don't, no matter how good or bad life is, it's only going to be but for so long. And then whatever I accomplish, I pass forward to somebody else for which I will not benefit from on this earth. So why are so many people so hell-bent on passing forward destruction? Why are so many people so hell-bent on passing forward indifference? Why are so many people hell-bent on making this world worse for the next generation? And maybe the answer is because they don't care. They literally don't care. I think I answered my own question. People don't care about what happens to anybody past this moment. And I think what I'm trying to teach people to do is to give a lot more everyday consideration to things that are not directly in front of us. Like when I talked about my sister and my siblings this morning, I'm not thinking about our relationship being tight for our own reasons. I'm thinking about our relationship being tight so that the next generation of our formers can know one another, so that they can, in our relationship being tight, have some relationships with one another going forward and keep our family close. I don't think you can benefit greatly from having a family that doesn't know one another. As generations continue to go forward, people spread out, go all over the world, and don't know one another. We got a world full of strangers that are related to one another. I don't want that to be my family if we can help it, especially stemming from a bunch of stuff that we could work out in our lifetimes. That's why I want to get along with my siblings. That's why I want my siblings to get along with one another. That's how my brain works. So as it pertains to this type of conversation, it's the same thing. I'm looking at other stuff. I'm not looking at what's directly in front of me. I'm looking at how all this trickles down in broader spaces. And that's how I kind of look at things, from a bigger scale, from a broader scale, from a longer term scale. And a lot of times my conversations are centered around that being what's on the forefront. And so for me, I don't think it makes any sense at all to align with an entity that's destined to fail. An entity that's aligned with failure. The essence of failure is the devil. The essence of the devil is deception, misdirection, deception, and lies. That's what he does. So of course I'd expect all of it that I'm seeing out of a devilish entity that I'm seeing from Israel. They're doing all the stuff. They're doing it. They're checking all the boxes. I don't stand here and say they're Satan's people because I just want to insult them. No, they're showing me all of the traits that I understand that come with the enemy. Literally. And engage in all of it. And so when I tell you guys anything in regards to them, you're damn right I don't fear them. Of course I don't fear them. Why would I fear an entity that is stupid enough to box with inevitability, to fight with the one who has all the power, who sees it fit to give us freedom? If power was so beautiful, harnessed into one spot, one single person have all the power ever, the person who has it is telling me that once you get it, you just want people to be free. You just want people to be free. You just don't want to spend eternity in a black space with nothingness forever. You want people to be here, and you want them to want to be here. You want to see variety. You want to see randomness. That's what the perspective of the all-seeing, all-doing power of God is expressing to me in my journey in this earth. That's what he's showing me. That if I was in his shoes, all I would want is the same thing he wants. You see what I'm saying to y'all? The devil above all else is just mistaken. I keep telling people, he's evil. Satan, he is. He's wicked. He's devious. He got all these different traits. Despair, it makes up a great deal of what his personality is. All of that. But above all else, he's just wrong. Just like poor assessing things. Poor assessment of things. That's all it is. It's going about it the wrong way. Thinking it's going to bring you one thing when it's actually going to bring you something else. Thinking you can handle a certain thing when you really can't, or vice versa. You know what I'm saying? Not being able to control your damn self. For your own betterment. Which is also something that you see in a lot of traits from demonic people. They're just a mirror of their enemy, of who they serve. And their enemy. I mean, if you want to be literal about it, of course. He's an enemy to all, including himself. A deceiver of all, including himself. And the reason why he keeps waging war with God, if you ask me, is because he hates his damn self. If you want to know the truth. If you want to know what I think, rather. Not that I've seen any text on that. I don't know that for certain, but it adds up. And the reason why he keeps boxing with God is not because he hates God, it's because he hates himself. Literally. He hates everybody who supports him for the same reason. And that hatred is what fuels him. But it's never served him. And it's never served anybody. That's why you don't want to serve it to the mirror or to anyone else. You want to take that and get it out of your heart to the best of your ability. But people don't engage in that wisdom at all, out of pain, out of ambition, worldly desires, and previous guilt. People just do not want to be good people. They would rather be liars and pretend to be good people and reap the benefits of it, but to actually do the work, they're not strong enough to take on the sacrifices necessary to be good human beings. They're not strong enough to humble themselves at the feet of something greater than themselves. And so as a result, they welcome defeat into their lives, destruction into their lives, devastation into their lives, poor reputations into their lives. You understand what I'm saying to them? This is what I'm trying to speak to everybody who thinks this way, who feels this way, who lives this way. You are mistaken. Above all else, somebody needs to plant the seed in your mind to give you that just that little seed of doubt that likely many of you have never received, to tell you, hey, this evil stuff you're doing, this weakness that you are engaging in, not making yourself submit to something greater than yourself for the sake of whatever the hell you're telling yourself, which it just boils down to you being too weak to do so. I'm just being honest with y'all. That's what it really boils down to. People are just too weak to live in a world where something's greater than them. All that comes with that makes them feel small, makes them feel inadequate. They don't have the ability to apply the faith blindly. They're just not strong enough to be good people. In a lot of cases, in being a bad person, you also get in the way of your chance of getting strong enough to be a good person by lacking the accountability to help you identify that you are not a good person, which also falls in the deception category of devilishness. And making you think you're something you're not when you look in the damn mirror. No, you're a monster. You're a monster. If you want to not be a monster, continuing to tell yourself you're a good person while being a monster ain't going to get you out of that monster skin. And so, yeah, man, that's what I think. That's what I know. That's what I've come to understand in my little walk of life. I don't know how long I'm going to be here. I figured out a lot of stuff, though. It pertains to the spirit. So that's what I tell people, man. As I always say, I look through a spiritual lens in regards to everything I got going on, that I see in my phone, that I see in my life, even in dealing with families. Spiritual lens, even when assessing my own behaviors. See what type of energy I've been engaging in, why I found myself with certain consequences. It's all seen through a spiritual lens. And what does that entail? An understanding of the traits of godliness and devilishness. Traits that are unwavering. The grace of God, the insecurity and the deception tactics of the devil, these and others, these are traits that do not waver no matter what vessel these entities inhabit. They're always going to act the way they act. Good acts a certain way, evil acts a certain way. And once you come to understand what those traits are, for which we've discussed a million times, then you know what you're looking at in other areas. When you see those same traits, you know exactly who is behind what and what they're thinking, and how, or rather what to expect next, or in that same ballpark at least. You can look and you can tell. And so for people wondering, why is he stumbling upon certain answers? Why is he right? How is he right? It's because I'm looking at this stuff through a constant that wasn't taught to all of us. We weren't taught these traits. Say this is what to look for when looking at something, looking for the evil one. We're not teaching each other that. We're not, and that's another thing. Our schools don't teach us things we need. They don't. Not in these modern times, 2025. They're not teaching these people what they need to be learning. They're teaching them stuff that helps them align with the structure of continuing to comply to the evil ones that control the land. That's what they're teaching the kids. How to comply, how to behave in the presence of the great moral conundrum that is America. They got to effectively warp you into both being outraged when you see certain things in certain areas, and then not outraged when you see those same things in other areas. That's what they have to teach you. They have to teach you how to be fine with this. Genocide. Be fine with the imbalance of various different things. To care more about Zionist Jews. To care less about Palestinian people. And everything in between falls in line somewhere like that. They got to teach you how to do that. Otherwise, you're going to be out here freelancing like people like me who didn't go to school very much, saying the quiet part out loud every time you get a chance. It's literally what it is. So they're teaching your kids how to assimilate with colonial culture, literally. How to be okay with the atrocities that have taken place in the past, and how most definitely to be compliant to whatever would be atrocious in the future. For which is inevitable because these people aren't done with their colonial takeover. They still got a whole Middle East to take over. It's going to take at least 80 years to take that thing. So then these kids, the next generation, they're going to have to be fine with genocide while simultaneously being sophisticated enough to not engage in it in their own land. And how are they going to have all that in their head? Same way they got all that other Pledge of Allegiance to the flag bullcrap in your head. Through the schools and through the churches. I'm just telling you the truth. And through the propaganda machine known as your devices, formerly known as television. I don't think I've said anything new here. For those who've been following me long enough, forgive me, I don't think a single thing I've said here I haven't said before at least twice. But I do think that the more it's said, the more it's planted in the heads of those who will hear it. The more chances I say these things on a video, the more chances it reaches somebody different with a different video. So I don't have a problem saying the same thing 166 times, because I feel like a different 166 people are going to see each video. And so that's why I leave so much of the same. But nevertheless, that's really my point of view on the day, man. So glad I have my voice. So glad the weed is gone that I was smoking, and I'm feeling social again. I'm glad my sister's in my life, but I'm also challenged by some of our interactions and the struggles that come with our dynamic and family dynamic. And I'm really just in a space of humility to say that I want to be a better human being in every area that God would want me to be. That I see His wisdom and trust His judgment as it pertains to giving free will to His people. If He wanted them to have it, He gives it to them. If He doesn't want them to have it, they don't have it. It's not my place to make that decision for Him. And that's what I want people to really hear me say. It is not my place as someone who loves God to try to override His decision in giving man free will. And I just wish the rest of humanity loved Him enough to not try to take that from Him by way of how they treat their fellow man. We're really cruel to an entity that's given us so much. And although the world isn't perfect, a lot of us are having some bad hands. we're also handling it the wrong way and probably cap our potential to get out of these holes by our lack of faith and our willingness to engage in devilish energy. If more people from whichever hand they hold engage in the energy that the Lord is trying to help us learn to engage in, our lives will probably end better than they start. A lot of us who have bad hands. We got to keep on encouraging one another to get closer to God, to establish those relationships with God, and to furthermore engage in the faith-based lens stuff, paying attention to things through a spiritual lens, engaging in faith and allowing it to control our wants and desires. We need to do a better job of that going forward. And hopefully the presence of this evil Israeli Zionist entity will help us further along in reading energy properly, identifying the traits of the enemy and the friend, so to speak, as in God, properly, and then furthermore, allowing ourselves the context from which to love ourselves properly and value the wisdom of God eternally. My name is BDF44. I thank you all for watching.